going on, guys? This is part 2 of the Mon Calamari Cruiser build, which is a Liberty class ship. So I did some research on it. I've been combing the internet trying to get more information on this thing. So I primed all the pieces, and everything's been hit with a Stanley gray primer. I'm just going to start with that just to get everything primed. I had to trim some pieces up a little bit. There was some excess resin on some of these pieces, like on here where the two main hole pieces come together. There was excess here, and you had to be careful because this has to kind of meet up. Each piece butts up to one another, and then this is actually pretty nice the way this is designed. There's a piece that goes in the middle and kind of fits in this channel, so it's nice and strong, and you're going to have a really strong joint holding this together. So there's also side pieces that go on here on both sides. So there's one of these goes in here and in the other side, and there's a notch that these slide into, which will make this very strong. I can figure this out. I had it in here before. There. So there's three kind of oval pieces, big pieces, holding the two pieces of the hull together. The only seam that I'm going to have to worry about is a small one in here and this here, which is not a problem. But the reason I'm dry fitting this is because I'm trying to figure out a plan for the lighting, and I'm going to light not so much on the wings but on the main hull. So if I want to put fiber in this piece, which is one of the main pieces on the body, I have to figure out a way to get the fiber in there so it sits on this. So I'm going to have to actually channel this out. I'm going to cut holes here and here so I could run fiber into this piece and then seat it on. Just something that I like to plan out in advance, so I'm not drilling holes later on when I didn't plan on doing it. So this piece, I'm actually going to get an idea. So that's the length. It's pretty long. That's the length of the ship. Kind of zooming in so you guys can see. I had to figure out the bottom. I had a whole stack of parts here, and I was just basically looking at the instructions and looking on some reference pictures on my tablet to figure out where these pieces go, and I think I have it all figured out. So this is the top, this is the bottom, and there's this basically fits on, and then in the back there's a piece. It's kind of like a wall that goes in, and that's going to sit in there, and that's going to support all my engines. So that's the engines, and the wings basically just plug into the slots on the side. So that's what we're looking at for the wings. So it looks pretty straightforward. I don't see any major problems. I don't see any major warping. I don't see anything that's going to cause me unneeded work. And there's a couple of other pieces that go on the bottom. There's this piece. Everything that goes on the ship, there are holes drilled for, so I don't need to do any of that. And these engines are going to go on the back. Might be a little tough to light the engines. Maybe not. I'm definitely going to light them. I'm just thinking because of the way that the engines are going to sit. I'm going to have to drill out the entire area in here, and then put an LED in, and then run the wires. So I only have to drill a small hole through this firewall type thing, or whatever it is, to get the engines lit. So everything's going to pass through this wall, all the wires, and I'm going to have to figure out, you know, how to wire everything up inside. It looks like the center of gravity on this ship is going to be pretty much right in the middle. So this looks like the best area to put a mount for the base. So anywhere in here, it looks like will support the ship without any issues, especially if I use a strong mounting post and connector, so I could screw it down and make sure that the ship doesn't go anywhere. So that's pretty much everything just fell. That's pretty much the center of gravity on the ship. So, oh, and there's this piece also. This piece holds the center engine, the back, and goes in here. So you can see there's actually some extra resin on this part right along here that has to be trimmed off. You have to be really careful when you trim this, because you don't want to cut and then have this crack. So I usually just if it's something like this where I have to go along the whole piece and cut off about 1/4 of an inch, I don't want to use a hobby knife either, because, well, at least to cut all of that off, because that could crack too. So with resin, I'm usually overly cautious, and when you're overly cautious, it never hurts to bring out power tools. So I use this thing. It's a little cutoff wheel. It's a diamond cutoff wheel on my Dremel, and I just go at a low speed and just go along this edge real lightly, and then I'll just break it off and sand it and file it down. I'm sure you know, if you guys have experience with the resin kits, you know all this stuff, but I have to talk about something. My next plan is to start drilling holes for fiber optic, and then since I know how this thing is going to go together, I could and then make it real easy. So now this whole piece, I could run all of the fiber in this piece, and then all of the fiber in this piece, and you know, put everything together. So, and I don't see any problems in here with spacing. Looks like there's going to be a lot of room inside this thing to run fiber optics and LEDs. And I don't think I'm even going to bother light blocking it. Oh, there is one thing. I did see on the, you can't see it, oh you can. On this particular picture, there's a blue kind of area. It looks like sort of like a landing bay or something. That's actually in the back of the wing. It's not an engine. It's just a kind of a hollowed out area, and it's actually on the model. And there's no detail in there. It's kind of just like it's kind of smooth on the inside. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, and there's a seam you could see in there, so I think I'm going to have to fill in some detail on that thing, which won't be hard. And light, I think it'll look really cool if it's lit up like this. And it's going to take some doing, because it looks like there's some kind of a line in there or something. There's some line of light. It's not just a blue spotlight in there, so I'll figure it out, but that definitely has to be there. So that means that there's definitely got to be lighting in the wing, and that means I'm going to have to run some wire into the hole to get to or yeah, I'm going to have to run some wire into the hole out of this wing somehow. So that's going to be another challenge, but it shouldn't be that difficult. I've gotten fiber and LEDs in smaller spots, so it's not really a big deal. I don't think I'm going to light up some of these. I might put a couple fiber optics in there, I'm not sure yet. But that's a focal point that has to be lit. I'm surprised it's actually on there and there's no detail in there. So it's just totally empty, but fun with resin kits, so that should be fun. Alright, I'll come back when I have more done. Alright, so I'm making some progress on this thing. You could see the light that I had installed already, the fiber. Should be able to see it. I'm liking the look of this. This is probably 40 strands or so that I had put in as a test. So I'm testing the look of this, and you could see there's groups of lights in certain spots. There's plenty of area on this ship to pick out spots where you can run maybe like 3 or 4 in a row, and there's all these little panels and stuff you can pick out to you know, put in groups of lights. So basically it's just groups of lights in there, and they're spread apart a little bit, so you're getting an overall look, but it's not lit up crazy. I have to actually light up more fiber that I had already installed in the front. So I'm liking how this is going. So what I did was I had joined the front and back sections, and I had put these pieces in, and I had worked on the seam a little bit, and I have to give this another coat, but I wanted to show the lighting before I did that, because when I spray this down, all the fiber's going to get covered. So all I'm doing is, the way I do fiber is pretty, I take as many shortcuts as possible, and if I'm doing this much of it, I want to make it as easy as possible to do it. So the shortcuts that I use, and this is just the way I do it. I'm sure everybody's got their own way, but I have a sort of like a center punch kind of thing. I guess that's what you call it. It's not really a, yeah, I guess it's a punch. I don't know. It's really sharp. I've used this thing over and over and over again. And what I'll do is kind of, and with resin it's actually really nice because it's soft, so you can push this thing in there and get just a little indentation of where you want the fiber hole to be, so you can use that as a guideline for your drill bit. So I do that, and I'm really careful, and I guess it's just practice that I tend to get a lot of straight lines, because you really don't want your line of lights to be crooked, and I know that that's not easy to do, especially on a curved surface, and most of the time with models you're working on a curved surface, so you really want to you know, try your best to get a straight line of lights. And there's a couple ways you can use a ruler, you can draw a line, but a lot of times, even if you do all that, when you center the punch, sometimes the, you know, if you lean one way or the other, the hole doesn't turn out lined up with the one next to it. It's really just a practice thing. I tried using this little photo etch hole template that I had got with a set that I bought for the Deep Space Nine space station, but the holes in this template are too close together. So I don't know if this was made for maybe 0.25 millimeter fiber, but they're very, very close together, so they weren't working for this particular model, unfortunately. So I kind of plan out a section of where I'm gonna drill holes, and I'll push in the hole for the lighting, and then I'll figure out where I have to drill, and then I use this super expensive $9.95 Harbor Freight handheld drill, which works fantastic. And the reason why it works so well for me is because it's really light, and I don't have to use a Dremel, because Dremels are heavy, and this thing is perfect. And it's, you know, it's not rechargeable. It has a plug, and I have a little adapter in there for a little .50 size drill bit, which is just the size I need, and it doesn't break bits. It's really easy to work with, and I'll drill maybe 10 holes, and then I'll run the fiber, and then I'll figure out where I'm going to go next. And I've used this for 2 Star Destroyer projects, and anything else that I've used that I've run fiber since I bought it, and it's fantastic. The one thing that I did do, aside from using it out of the box, is I connected it to a variable voltage adapter, which is a DC adapter. This runs on 12 volts DC. If you're running at 12 volts, it's gonna run a little too fast to kind of control the drill bit. So at least for me it was. So I wanted to slow it down. So this will let me slow it down, and I've slowed it down enough where I don't want to mess with this, but I slowed it down to the speed where I want it, and it seems to be running not too fast, not too slow, and it doesn't get binded in the plastic and the resin. It doesn't burn, it doesn't melt anything. So that's what I use. So I'll drill the hole, and it works really fast. It'll go through the resin, and then I'll put the fiber in, and I'll hold the fiber. I think I mentioned this on another video with the Bondic sort of adhesive stuff, and hold the fiber in there with that, and then I'll go back and hit it with resin, or sorry, epoxy later on, and that'll secure everything. So that's the method to my madness on this thing. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna see how it looks after I cover the whole top section. And if I like the look, I can always add more later. If I like it, then I'll just keep doing that for the rest of the ship, and maybe definitely for the bottom. I'm not sure about the wings, but that's what's going on. So there you go.